All right. Welcome on board tonight. I am so excited that y'all are here tonight. This is Roger Pascal with Real Impact TV, and we have a incredible call tonight. We've got so many things happening with creative deals. That's what this call is all about tonight is creative deals and how we kind of put those together, how we think outside the box and make this thing happen. So we're very excited that you're on board tonight. We have multiple people that are going to be on this call tonight to help you out and answer some questions. If you've got questions, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then a chat box will come up and ask your questions on the chat box. So we're excited you're on here tonight, and I'm going to start this out tonight with asking Eric Short to come on to do the opening joke for us. So Eric Short.
Well, hello, and thank you, Roger, for having me with this opening joke. One of my favorites. So a pony walks into a bar and orders a drink. And the bartender says, "It sounds like you have a scratchy throat, a cold. Do you have a cold?" And the pony said, "No, I'm just a little hoarse."
There you go. One more dad joke. I tell you, yeah, there you go. One more dad joke. Okay. All right. Thank you, Derek. Yeah, that was that makes my jokes. Okay, there we go. So we're gonna open this up. We're gonna ask Tim Lockhart to come on. He's got the tip of the week. So Tim, can you share with us what your tip of the week is?
Yeah, sure. That's a hard act to follow, but I'll do my best.
Yeah, I think Eric will be here all week.
Yeah, so the tip of the week is how to prepare offers that get accepted. People come to me all the time and they say something like this. I talked to the seller and he wants a full market value and he wants all cash. How can I buy this as an investor? And what I tell him is, of course, the seller wants his price, full market value, and he also wants his terms, which is all cash. That's where everyone starts. And as investors, our job is to find and solve problems. And in reality, the seller really doesn't want the cash. Um, they just think they do. They think they do because that's all they've been told about how to buy and sell houses. But what they really want is what they can get from the cash. So is it that they need to move to a new city, or maybe they need to avoid foreclosure, or they need to buy a new car, or they need to get their kids into college? Our job as investors is to uncover what they really need and solve that problem. So in order to create an effective offer, you really must know three things. The current ARV, which is the after repaired value, and that is the current market value of this home compared to homes that are similar in the area that have recently sold, that are in move-in ready condition. The second thing you need to know is the repair cost. And so that is how to quickly and accurately estimate how much that you're going to need to spend to bring this house into that move-in ready condition. And the third thing that you need to know is what is the seller's underlying motivation? What is the real reason that they need to sell? Here at Real Impact Training, we teach the multiple offer concept. Once determining the ARV and the repair cost and the seller's need, then you can construct multiple offers. And this has a real psychological impact with the sellers that you're speaking with. See, we're conditioned all the way since grade school that if we're presented a multiple choice test, we have to choose at least an answer, right? What does everyone say? If you don't know the answer, choose C, right? So this is what happens in the seller's mind when you present multiple offers. It's no longer just a yes or no, but it's choosing between three options. So in this offer, the first offer is full price on our terms. Okay, so we can pay, for instance, $150,000 for a $150,000 house. How can we do that? Well, let's say it'll rent for $1,500 a month. So hypothetically, we could offer to pay them $750 a month for 16 years and 8 months. And that would be $150,000. If there's a current mortgage, then maybe we could take over that mortgage subject to, and then add payments for the equity that they have and still pay them the full $150,000. Next, we can offer our price and the seller's terms. So the all cash price is going to be the lowest price because it's all cash. And so for example, it might be 70% of the after repaired value minus the repairs. And so in this example of a $150,000 house, say it needs $40,000 in repairs, then we could offer a cash price of $65,000. And finally, offer somewhere in between. And this is where uncovering the real motivation of why they want to sell is so powerful. So our third offer can be somewhere in between the $65,000 and $150,000, and then some cash or trade of something else to meet the underlying need and that true motivation of what's really causing them to want to sell the house. So in summary, first we need to determine the real motivation for selling. And then we offer full price offer with all terms, and we can offer an all cash low price offer. And then we can offer price in between with some cash or trade and solve the real underlying motivation that's wanting them to sell. And that is the tip of the week.
All right. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And that is exactly what we do, is a 3 offer basis on many of the deals that we do, and getting that down. We just work with we work with the sellers and find out what their motivation is, as you said. So that's a great deal on there. So CJ, if we can pop everybody on the screen, we're gonna go right to the questions that we have here and get everybody added on here. And Karen, if you can, as everybody gets on here and clicked on, if you can start that process, that'll be super.
All right, great. Well, welcome everybody. I want to just as a reminder, if you're joining us tonight for the first time, make sure that you like and subscribe to Real Impact Network here on YouTube, and make sure you hit the bell so that you get the reminders when we go live, because I know we all get busy and we sometimes forget, and we want to make sure that you don't miss anything. All right. Well, this week we are talking, or this month actually, we are focusing on creative deal structuring, because we have Pete Fortunato coming to Arlington in March of 2022. So we have some questions, and I want to make sure that we get those answered, because they're still left over from last week, and we want to make sure that everyone's questions get answered. So Roger is going to help us out with the first one tonight. Roger, what is a private money lender, and how do I find one?
Well, that's a great question, and that's how I do most of my deals. Is I work with private money lenders. What I do is I go out and I talk to people that I know that may have some money in the stock market or in some type of portfolio type situation. And we talk about what I do in real estate. We talk about how I do a fix and flip, if that's what I'm doing, or a short-term loan, and if I'm doing a BRRRR or something on that basis, and I offer them a set rate. I offer them not a part of the deal, not a part of the profit. I offer them a set rate, and with that, that rate may be anywhere from 6 to 10%, depending on the market and what's going on. Right now, it's probably going to be a little lower because the The stock market's not doing a wonderful job right now, so we can make things happen a little less. That might be 6 or 7%. Where if the stock market's in a climbing basis, I might have to be a little bit more aggressive on that and offer a higher rate. But how do I find those guys? So that is word of mouth. That is knowing who you're talking to. What I will do is I will not approach them directly. I will say, would you know anybody that would want to invest in real estate and have the first lien on the property to protect them while we're doing whatever the exit plan is on the property? So if you can, build their story from there, and kind of at that point they'll start asking you questions about, what are you talking about? How do I get involved in this? I firmly believe that everybody out there wants to invest in real estate, but not everybody wants to be a real estate investor. So they want to be the money guys behind it, and they want to make that happen. And one other thing that I do is I always make sure when I close them out, whether I'm refinancing the property or whether I am selling the property, that they get a check from the title company. I really don't want them wired the money. I want them to get a check. And with that, I want them to see that in their hand that they're getting that check. And it really, really makes a difference there. So the way I structure it is they are the first lien holder on the property. And I will continue to communicate with them as I go through. And that's how I find my private money lenders, is I just ask questions and who do you know? Another way to do it is talk to your CPA and ask them if they have any clients out there that might want to invest in real estate.
Hey,
There
Ron,
you go. Thank you. Yes.
I guess I'm wondering the reason behind having the check. Does that make them a little more amenable to wanting to do that process again in the future?
Absolutely. They hold that in their hand, that check, instead of a wire. They hold that in their hand and they're going, wow, this is great. I made 8% off this deal. And I just find that works better for me. It may work differently for others out there, but that's kind of my way of doing that.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Tony?
Karen, I just want to add to that. I want to add to what Roger was just saying. And it's been my experience that private money lenders are all about relationships. It's what I like to call relationship money. And our primary private money lender is a great friend of ours, and we've probably done 50 deals with him. But we also have had other private money lenders, and where we found those people were at real estate investment meetings. And so when you go to an impact meeting by any of the folks here on the screen who are hosts of these impact meetings, you're bound to find people there who have money to lend. And it is a great place. In addition to what Roger was saying, it's a great place to find money that might be available for your deals. And that's how we built up some of our portfolio, by going to investor meetings and finding people there who have money to lend.
I agree with that. That's exactly where I found my private money lenders. The first one was at a real estate investor meeting, and the second was a friend of a friend and wanted to find out more. And she said, I've got money in a 401k. Can you invest my money? Absolutely, I can. So I want to ask Dennis a real quick question, because I know he'll know the answer to this. Dennis, how many private lenders do you need?
Well, you only need one if they have enough money. I learned a lot about private lending from John Schaub. And I asked him one time, I said, John's been doing this business for 55 years. And I said, how many private lenders have you had? He'd never gone to a bank. And he thought for a second, he said 6. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. Well, I've been doing this 50 years too. And I sat down and added up, and I'd only had 11 in 50 years. So if you have 1 or 2 that have enough money, then you don't need any more.
Awesome. Great answer. I heard that from a very, very well-known man. I think it was Dennis. Sometimes I listen.
Good.
Okay. Roger, a follow-up question to that is, I have wasted so much time submitting applications for private money lenders that I have found on Facebook. How do I know if they're legit?
Well, as Tony said, I personally would not go work with somebody on Facebook. That's just not who I am. That's not what I do. I'm sure other people might make that work, but as Tony said, it's all about relationships. There is not a problem with finding people out there, people that have money. They want that money working for them. Once again, build that relationship with them, whether you meet them at a REI meeting, or whether you know them personally, or whether you're introduced through your CPA or a CPA friend of yours. You might meet somebody at church or whatever, but I've never had an application go in. Yeah, Dennis.
2 calls ago, we put my number up, so if anybody had any questions, and a fellow named Sam called in to my number, and he was having trouble getting a loan from a bank. And I said, well, why don't you get private money? And he said, I have no idea who to talk to. To make a long story short, I gave him a loan. Now, I'm always going to do that. But if you talk with people, everybody has money, and one of them may have enough and want to get it. If people have money in the bank, what kind of interest rate do you think they're getting? Even with the best bank, the very best, they're probably getting less than 1% right now. Maybe they're getting 1.5 or 2, but most people can do better than that. I can do better than that. So, it's just like Tony said, develop relationships, and that's where the money will come from.
Pam?
Going back to talking about the Facebook, picking up, lenders, there are Facebook pages and groups out there that do their own thing, like Quest. Quest is on Facebook. They have their Facebook page out there. The thing about it is, if you're going to talk to lenders on Facebook or talk to them, you need to ask them kind of not where they're getting their money from, but you need a background check. You need to, if they're getting it from, I'm just throwing this off the top of my head. If they're getting their money from William and Penn, call William and Penn and say, hey, I'm looking at borrowing money. Are they part of your financial institution? But that's one way that you're going to get so that you don't get burned on some of these people. Because like here in DFW, it's really, really big. The DFW remodeling, the DFW Investment Club, there are lenders on there. I went on there the other day because I'm looking at borrowing money for a mobile home on less than an acre. And I went in and posted it, and I've got 3 people that were willing to give me a loan where I'm not going to go get a loan on a mobile home from a bank and everything. I called, I checked. One of them was not a good background, but the other 2, they turned out real fine. So you got to do your due diligence. You got to check these people out. You need to ask for references, just like you would for anything else.
Agreed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, let's see. Our next question, I believe Dennis is going to be answering this one. Dennis, how many properties do I need in order to get a commercial portfolio loan?
Well, the shortest, most succinct answer would be 1. Many commercial lenders go by the amount. And just before this call, I asked Tony, who was a banker in his past life, what he thought. And rather than trying to tell you what he said, I'm just going to pass it over to Tony and let him answer the question in a much better way.
All right. Yeah. The quick answer is it depends. And it's going to depend on the lender. And like Dennis said, a lot of lenders base it on a dollar amount. Now, for instance, I borrowed from a lender and I got a commercial portfolio loan with 4 loans. Pam has a different experience. She has one with 2 loans, right, Pam?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I borrowed under my LLC, got 4 loans. I don't even know if that lender has a minimum dollar amount. but some lenders do. And so it could be based on a minimum dollar amount. I know a lot of lenders who aren't banks, the commercial mortgage companies, will have a dollar amount that they're going to be basing it on. But it really does depend upon the different lenders. There's no regulatory law regulation. It's policy by each individual lender.
So follow up to that. How important is your relationship with your banker, Tony?
Well, it's very, very important, particularly if you want good rates and terms. That particular lender is regulated by the agency that I used to work for. And so I had built a relationship up with them. They had known of me in my prior life as a regulator, but it was all part of the relationship I built with them because I visited with them before I ever needed to borrow any money. And I walked in there with a credibility packet to explain what my wife and I were doing and where we were going. And I said, when I have a deal, I'd like to come here, but first tell me what your
Dennis is
terms
new as
are.
it is, so why not?
And then I will let you know if I want to do business with you. And we built a relationship from that.
That's an excellent answer. Fully agree. Cannot express the importance of having that relationship, like you said, before you need it. And that credibility packet showing that you know what you're doing and explaining your vision to someone, and they want to be a part of it, just like with a private lender. It's actually super simple if you think about it. Just having someone want to be a part of what you're doing is incredible. So thank you so much for sharing that. All right. So I think that's, John Lyle has a question. Are any of y'all private money lenders? We got some hands raising up, and I know Dennis has already said that he would. I know Tim does some hard money lending, and Gabi does some more traditional loans for investors and homeowners. So she's a loan officer, I believe. Anybody else have anything to add to that?
At 5 o'clock tonight, I had somebody reach out to me and said, I heard you lend money in Waco. And I responded back and said, I do. It just happens to be a situation where I met this fella 3 years ago. He's doing a lot of business. And I said, best way for us to talk about this is let's set up a time and schedule a call. So we have a call tomorrow night. He's going to tell me about what he's got. I already know who he is. I already know that he does a large book of business. And we don't have a firm established relationship, but I know what he does already. And that helps. And I'm going to lay out what my criteria is to him. And we'll see if we do any business together.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we're going to switch gears now. And we've had some interesting solutions to some seller problems that have come up this past week because we've been talking about creative financing or creative deal structuring because we have Pete Fortunato coming to Arlington in March. So from that, of course, we've been doing a lot of behind the scenes talking and discussing, and several very interesting stories have come up. So I want to kick it off with Tal out of Oklahoma City. Hey, Tal, would you like to share your story with us?
Hi, everyone from Oklahoma City. Thank you so much for all your sharing today. About my creative financing with my mobile home park. Okay, right. Okay, so after I got my first mobile home park, we love it so much because it was performing very well. So we looked for the second one, and we found this second mobile home park, already on market for 30 days, but it's only 5 minutes from our home. So, it's really good location. We scheduled a visit, but during the first visit, we didn't talk anything about buying the mobile home parks. The whole conversation is just, about the seller. We just kind of get to know one another. I got to know him. He got to know me. I got to hear a lot of stories. He loved to talk, obviously. So we have like 2 hour visit where we didn't talk about buying it. But he showed me everything. He will tell me how he built the parts and all that. But of course, I love it already, and I want to buy it. But usually traditional for mobile home park, it's really hard to find a bank, the local bank that can fund a mobile home park. Um, so, I just because of just like Tony said, banking relationship. My bank that I use mostly, they never funded mobile home park before, but I told them, hey, I already have one. It doing well. So I have the second one here. Would you fund me 70% of the purchase price? And they said yes. They said yes, and I was like, great, okay. And then so I scheduled a second visit with the seller, and this time we actually make the offer. What I tell him, I put out all the number for him. I say, okay, well, because during the first visit, I can tell that, he's already 84 years old. He didn't want to work anymore. He just want to pay off just a little bit of mortgage that he left on the parts, but he didn't really need a lot of cash on hand at the moment. So what I did is I asked him, would you willing to carry back 30% of the purchase price? He would receive 70% of the purchase price at closing. And I told him that, well, this way you can, you don't have to pay a lot of capital gain tax. Yeah. And then I also said that you still have a stream of income coming monthly, which is really nice for him. He's not working, but he still have a stream of income. So he was like, well, and guess what? At that time, he actually had a cash offer come in, but he actually picked my offer. Yeah, can you believe it? 30 days, nobody offer. And then when I start to offer, there's somebody offer, but I mean, it just, thanks to the time that I spend with him, I get to know him, he get to know me. I even advise him on medications because I was, I'm a pharmacist. That's helped too. So what I did is, so we got it under contract. The bank funded me 70%. He carried back 30%. So what, I brought no money to closing, but I came out closing with a check from deposit and rent prorated. So it was really nice. So I have immediate cash flow. That it was about 14% cap rate. It was really good. And my cash on cash return, since I didn't put anything, so it was infinite. So it's still one of my best deals so far. And the park is one of my multifamily that have the highest cap rate, highest cash flow, and I love it.
That's awesome, Tal. I have to give you a hand.
Great
That you use so much. Like
Thanks.
you took everything and just put it out there. But I want to say something. Had you not asked, the answer would have been no, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
kudos to you for bringing it up, asking the question, asking the banker, asking the seller. I mean, I think you did everything just great. And congratulations. I love that story.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. I don't think Doug and Renee are on right now, so we're going to let's go to Pam's story. Pam, don't you have a good story?
Well, I can go off of what Tal was talking about keeping up, good relationships and going after it. So I'm here in the Fort Worth area, and there's a lake called Eagle Mountain Lake. And actually, this is about one of my friends that ended up with an RV park. And so there's a marina. It's a marina that has, all these RV. Anyway, Mark went and for 5 years, he went and talked to the owner of this park. I mean, he would eat lunch with him. I would go drink coffee with him and everything. And Mark was always asking the guy, when are you going to sell me your RV park? He asked him for 5 years, every time he went over and everything. So Mark went over one day and got out of the boat and was meeting him for coffee. And the guy goes, well, are you not going to ask me? And Mark goes, what? When are you going to sell me your RV park? And the guy goes, it's going to be today. And so Mark called me and he goes, you're not going to believe this. And I'm like, oh, I cannot believe that. So the story even gets better. So like I said, he worked for 5 years getting this RV park. And at the time, the park was probably netting close to $200,000 a year as it was and everything. So now Mark, I was talking to Mark the other day because I drove down there to look at it because we're trying to improve our RV park that we have at the same time. And so I'm like, Mark, I didn't know that this had all the land that you got with it. Well, he didn't either until they went to apply for a loan and they had to get a survey. So the man that he bought the RV park, he got a new wife, moved to Houston. Well, they were going in the process of taking out a new $2 million loan to do this upgrade. Well, the message got back to the old man in Houston. He called Mark and said, why are you taking, because Mark and them, they paid off the RV park that they bought it from him the first time, okay? So the guy calls Mark and he goes, hey, I hear you're needing a $2 million loan and you didn't call me. He said, you asked me for 5 years about buying this RV park. You need $2 million because they're looking at building some tiny homes and some apartment type complex on this property. And so the guy is talking about relationship. This is no lie. I can verify this. The guy is going to loan them the $2 million at 5% interest, where the bank was going to charge more than that. And he's just going to let him do what he wants, all because of the relationship that he did with this older gentleman, drinking coffee, just talking to him. That's all it was. Taking him for a boat ride when he wanted to. And there were people that, wholesalers. He said he got calls from wholesalers. Hey, I see that you owned your park for 100%. Do you want, we talk about the yellow letters and the phone. But it is really all about a relationship. So I thought that was.
And follow up,
Yeah.
relationship and follow up. But it's funny because he didn't go to that guy in the first place, but the guy heard it through the grapevine.
Yes.
So, awesome. That's awesome.
So
that's a very interesting story. Thank you so much for sharing.
The guy told him, he said, my money that you paid me off is not making me any money, and I need to make some money. So I want to give you back the money that you paid off. I mean, that's exactly what he said to him. I'm like, that's, it's so true. I mean, I'm refinancing my my rentals and everything. And I was going to ask this towards the end if we have more time. So about if this is a good deal or not a good deal, but I know there's other people that have questions to answer.
Well, remind me, and I will definitely let you answer it if we have time. Okay, Doug and Renee, do you guys want to share your story real quick? Well, then maybe they can't hear me. We'll let Tony go ahead and answer. And Tony, I think Tony has a good story, right, Tony?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
So, several years ago, we were in Waco looking at some property, and we went to this particular home. It was a triplex, and the fella who was selling the property was similar situation as Taos. He was 84 years old at the time, and he showed us this property, and he just turned out to be just this lovely guy. Well, we didn't know anything about the market in Waco. We had not done anything there. So we got home and I crunched numbers and we said, okay, we're going to make this fella an offer. And just like Tim talked about in his tip, we made 3 offers. But what happened was my wife, Cindy, attached a letter to our offer, and it was extremely personable to him, to the seller. He was a former military. He had served our country with great honor. And she just gave this wonderful message to him and finishes it up with, we would love to purchase your house. We were so far apart in price on our cash offer. but he accepted it. So here's where the creative financing part came in. We did buy that house. And when we went to closing, his wife said, who I had not met before, said, Tony, you're stealing this house from us. And her husband looked at him and looked at her and said, now, darling, leave Tony alone. That started a relationship between them and us. We ended up going to lunches with them. They invited us over their home. We would go to their house. We had dinner. We had lunches. And they had, as we found out, 7 more properties.
Wow.
And we started talking about their other properties. But I didn't make any offers. I just wanted to hear them out. And I finally found out through one of our visits, we were sitting in their living room, and Cindy and I were talking to them about how much longer they want to have those properties. And the fella said, I'm tired. I don't want to have these properties anymore. And his wife was the bookkeeper. She was 84. He was 85. And I said, you keep the books on these? And she said, yes. She says, but I want to sell them, but I don't want to get hit with the capital gains. And I said, I think I have a solution for both of you. And I offered, using Tim's methodology of the 3 offers, I offered to buy all 7 on terms. So this took place over the course of several months as we built that relationship. And I put it all in writing, and I laid it out house by house by house. They gave me all the information. We went to visit the properties, and I offered to buy all of them. Cindy and I did on terms. And what we ended up doing was, this took place probably over 3 months. We bought 4 of them on terms, which meant we bought them based on providing them with payments. They wanted cash on 3 of them. And so we paid cash, not our cash, OPM, other people's money. So we borrowed privately to pay for 3. We bought 4 based on terms, interest-only terms. But we got them at such deep discounts. And they had tenants in all of them who were all under market rent. So when we closed, we bought all 7 in one day. When we closed, we then went around with the sellers. They brought us around to all the properties to meet their tenants. And they had owned these properties for a long time. And it was amazing. We get introduced to their tenants, and every single tenant hugged, his name was Wayne, hugged Wayne, thanking him for letting them be his tenants. And I'm thinking, this is way too high of a bar he has set, because I am not that type of landlord. I'm a good landlord, but I'm not that type of landlord. But we bought 4 of those properties on terms, and we structured it so that 2 of them would come due at a certain point in time, and 2 would come due at a later point in time, based on when they wanted to have to pay capital gains. So we got really creative with them, but we built that relationship over several months with folks who were in their mid-80s. And to this day, unfortunately, Wayne passed away a year ago, but we have remained so close. When we go down to Waco, we go to lunch or dinner with her, and we've remained awesome. Very, very close to her.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Makes me kind of weepy-eyed.
Hey, Karen, I have something to say to Tony.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I got thanked this evening for evicting someone off the RV park. So just be prepared for it.
That happens. Or neighbors. Sometimes people have a way of weeding themselves out. I'm a firm believer in that. So, I tell you what. Well, congratulations, Tony. Thank you so much. That's all about that relationship. Mm-hmm. Again, seems like we're talking about relationships tonight. So congratulations on that. And that's a very interesting story. Thank you for sharing. Tim, I believe you are up next. I think you have an interesting story to share with us.
Yes, I have a story about how I found one of the houses that I still own as a rental. So I was doing some marketing. I was sending out postcards, And I got a call back on my marketing and said, hey, I don't want to sell the house, the address that is on this card, but I have another house. Would you be interested in looking at it? And I said, well, yes, of course. And so then we went out to the house, and it turned out that it was the house that they had bought for their daughter, and their daughter had, a bad relationship and had to move out of the house, and it had a lot of bad memories for them. And the house was really torn up, and it wasn't really very livable. And they just didn't have the emotional capacity to fix it and sell it. And they just wanted to get rid of it. So I asked them a question that Dennis taught me to ask, which was, would you take what you owe? And they said yes, like right away. And so I did pay them what they owed. I got a loan from a state bank, so it wasn't my money. I was able to get 100% of the purchase and the repairs financed, and I was able to pick up a house for $23,000 that I currently have. I've refinanced a couple of times, and it's currently rented, and it's doing really well for me.
That's awesome, Tim. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to add one. One of the most interesting deals that I ever found, I actually was scrolling Facebook one Saturday, and I saw a deal pop up in like a garage sale page. So went to look at it, bought it from the guy for like $12,000 or $15,000. And then we ended up assigning it to a cash buyer. And it went well. The guy was remodeling it, and we had referred him to someone to get the remodeling done. And he called us, I don't know, it's forever. It was like 4 or 5 months later, and said, hey, can y'all buy this house back for me? Because the contractor hasn't finished the work. I've got all this stuff in there, and I've inherited some money, and I'm going on vacation. I don't want to mess with it anymore. I don't want to do this. It was harder than I thought. So we bought it back, and he included all the materials. And I think we didn't even have to give him any money. We actually bought it back from him with a note. And so we didn't have to pay anything. He supplied all the materials. And I think I'm going to say the note was maybe 20. So maybe we paid about $5,000, but we got more than that in materials. So we went in and finished the rehab, and someone wanted to buy the property with owner financing. So we owner financed it for like $129,000. It's crazy. It was really crazy because if you look at the picture on Zillow, if anyone looked it up, it was like the picture before we ever even saw it the first time. It was horrible. And I thought if anybody Googles this or looks on Zillow, they're going to just not even call us. And then we ended up selling that note to a note buyer at 100% of the payoff. And I mean, it was like everything just went well on that deal for us. And he was happy because he got his money. He got it at the payoff whenever we closed on the deal, and he was off on vacation. And then he's like, hey, I still have this money, and I've inherited more money, so let's do some deals together. So that's a really good one too. So, all right. Tony, go ahead.
Can I add one more on this creative financing?
Absolutely.
And this
go
one,
right ahead.
yeah, this one is may make some people cringe a little bit when they hear about the cash flow up front that we had, which was almost nil. We bought a property in Fort Worth, and the tenants who were living there, we bought it from someone who had owned it for a long time. And he had these tenants who had been there for over 15 years. And we bought this property. They were way under market rent. And so when we bought it, we met them. We were introduced to them. Just a really sweet couple. And they had raised their children in this house. But they had been renting for over 15 years. So we asked them why they didn't try to buy the house. And they said, well, he's a contractor. The husband was a contractor, and his income is up and down, and they didn't think they could ever qualify. And so we threw out the idea of them buying the house from us, with us being the bank. And they said, well, what would that look like? And we explained it to them. And we told them we would need 10% down and we would do it under these terms. And they said, we don't have that kind of money, but we could save up for it. And we said, okay, save up for it. When do you think you might be able to do it? It was less than a year later. They called, they had the money, and we sold it to them. Now, here's the interesting thing. When we bought that property, we were netting only $50 a month in net cash flow. So not necessarily an advisable position to be in, because we actually had money invested in it of our own. And so not a great return for us at all. But what we saw was the potential down the road, because it was our goal to eventually sell it with owner financing. And when we did, we blessed this family with home ownership. And it was a very emotional sales closing. And what happened was, because we use August REI as our loan servicing company to collect payments, and they report to a credit bureau, and 2 years worth of mortgage payments by this couple created a situation where they were able to refinance at a lower rate than what we had provided them. And so 2 years after they had bought it, we had owned it approximately 3 years altogether. They refinanced out and got a lower interest rate, lower monthly payment, and they were enjoying home ownership where they had raised their children and just in a rental situation for over 15 years. Now, the return to us in the beginning was extremely low, $50 a month. But that's not why Cindy and I even got into real estate investing. It was to bless people with home ownership. And we were okay with that because we knew eventually we'd get ours from that, a profit. And we ended up netting about 30% on our money for those 3 years. But better than that, we were able to give someone home ownership when they didn't think that they would ever be in that situation. And that's what it was all about for us.
Cool. That is so great. And that's going to return 100 times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always. You guys have been so amazing tonight. Thank you so much. Do we have time to answer the one more question, Roger, or we're going to let Dennis and you close it out?
No, we got time for one more question. Absolutely.
Okay. Last question. Let's go to Pam. Pam, this is the question. I have been offered private money with the offer to JV on the deal. What are the pros and cons?
Well, for us, because we will JV partner with people, especially when they have money. If it's someone that a new lender that we've not done business with, of course, there's that criteria. I'm going to want to talk to the private lender. I want to know certain things, from that lender. And here's the good thing. I don't know how to answer this part, but you're the one that developed this relationship with this private lender. So they know you. And the good thing about it is they're going to want to protect you when you're doing a JV partnership with somebody. Okay. So that's one pro about that. The other thing is the con is you don't know me and your lender doesn't know me, but I know how, if we're talking about rehabbing here, or if we're talking about sharing, a rental on a house or something like that. The other thing is I don't know you and I don't know your lender. So I'm going to be asking specific questions that your lender or you might not even thought about, but I'm going to have a talk with you first, letting you know what I'm going to ask the lender. Okay. So here's a good example. So my general contractor and I that I have now, we started out this way. He wanted to know how to rehab houses. And my thing was him, because I didn't think he was serious. I said, well, you need to go the hardest thing to do is find a lender. 5 days later, he comes back with a lender. And I'm like, wow, that was, So I had an in-depth conversation with his lender and everything. But the thing about it is you're on a three-way conversation and you're getting to learn how this actually goes, about. The con, I don't know if you look at this as a con or not, but when it comes to rehabbing, because I've done it for so long, you kind of become like a puppet. I mean, I rehab for the public. I don't rehab because you're in love with this house. And I had this situation about 4 or 5 months ago, and you're signing a contract saying that this is the way it is. So, you know, I will listen to what you have to say, but it's probably not going to be something I'm going to do. And that was something really hard for Jonathan, but Jonathan stepped in. I made him talk to contractors so that he knows how to develop that relationship. So if you're wanting to learn about rehabbing, you know, that's what the question's there. Hopefully I answered your question, but that's what,
Okay.
that's how I do it.
Well, I think that I think just like you said, it's the relationship, who has what expertise, what's everyone bringing to the table, how are each going to benefit, having that clear understanding, and just working out what's best for everybody. So I know we had one that we turned down, because a private lender that we turned down because she wanted to have her finger in the middle of everything. And I was like, you don't even know the first thing about investing in a house, and you're going to question no, it wasn't worth it. So we push that one aside.
Well, the other thing is on the other end. So like Jonathan brought the lender, and this was kind of like his 3rd or 4th time, you know, lending money. And so when we got into it, or, you know, him lending us money, I started asking him, you know, we're talking about draws, and I'm going, so, you know, you're sending out an inspector every single time. You got to understand, especially in today's market and what's going on. Well, how long is it going to take you to send an inspector out so that we can get the next money draw? Well, in my situation, because we can usually rehab a house in 45, to 60 days. Well, I don't have time, especially in today's market, to wait on you for 2 weeks. And that's not going to happen, So there's a lot to it that people don't understand, especially first time, or second time, money lenders.
I hear you. Hey, Dennis, I think you can answer this one. What is a JV?
It's a joint venture where both people profit. And the terms would have to be worked out up front, but that's pretty much that simple. I noticed that Roger mentioned a BRRRR, and some people don't know what that is. So, Roger, you want to tell them what a BRRRR is?
Absolutely. It's you buy it and you rehab it, you rent it, and you refinance it, and then you repeat. Okay. So that's what that is you're buying it on a short-term loan. That could be a private money lender, as we've been talking, or it can be a hard money loan. And you rehab it, and then you rent it. And then once you have that in place, you can go to a traditional mortgage company, and you can there's some incredible programs out there. Tim's wife has a program right now that is, I think it's a 40-year note with 10 years of interest only. And then after that, it's interest in principal. So there's some great programs out there right now. And we all need to be taking advantage of those while we can before the world falls apart.
And if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to reach out to Gabi Lockhart or Tim, and Tim can put you in touch with her. She's absolutely phenomenal to work with. She's got some really cool stuff that she can do. And I really enjoyed hanging out with them a couple weeks ago and just learning all just the nuances of what bankers and lenders do when they're deciding if they're going to make you a loan or not. It was incredible. I mean, I know what I look for, and I know what my books look like, and I know all that, but it was really neat to see what she's looking for, because it's not always what you think. So, okay, well, we're about ready to close this thing out. Dennis, what all have you got to say for us tonight? I know we've got some exciting things coming up this month.
That's correct. We have Pete Fortunato coming on the 12th. Pete's one of the most interesting, funny, entertaining. He's just a wonderful speaker. if you come to this, I will guarantee you'll be happy that you came to the event, and you're going to learn something that you never even thought about. I mean, he thinks so far outside the box that, you know, there's a joke that somebody thanked him for thinking outside the box, and he said, "What box?" So come to that meeting if you possibly can. It's on the 12th. Karen, can you just kind of share? I'm going to bribe you to come. So if you'll come, you're going to get a whole lot of things. Can you share those things? I don't have them in front of me.
The list is so long, I had to bring up another screen. So you guys listen up, pay attention. This is what you are going to get included with your 8 hours with Pete Fortunato. You're going to get the book Subject To by our very own Roger Pascal. Thank you so much for that, Roger. You're going to get The Royal Flush of Real Estate Investing, which, thank you so much. That is Dennis's book. So thank you, Dennis, for providing that to all the attendees that day. You're going to get the Wealth of Knowledge ebook. Oh, I guess I should tell y'all some values. Roger's book is valued at $35. Dennis's book is valued at $15. And I want to say that's just because he likes you guys. And that's what we wanted to make sure that everyone can afford that book and benefits from it. So the Wealth of Knowledge ebook is valued at $50. We're also going to give you 3 months access to the Real Impact website. Guys, I'm telling you what, that is a $495 value. If you need something, anything, policies, procedures, contracts, addendums, leases, anything, it is on that website, and you're going to have access to it for 3 full months. You can always keep it afterwards, but we're going to give you 3 months for free. Keep that in mind. We have you're going to get the REI Skills Training Lesson 1 video. Now that's valued at $200. You're going to get we're going to have vendors there and sponsors, and you're going to be able to pick up their goodies and all their little gifts and things, promotional items. You're going to have a chance to win awesome door prizes valued between $15 and $500. And like I said, 8 hours with Pete Fortunato is absolutely priceless. If you guys missed him talking to us last weekend, I was blown away at what we learned in the 45 minutes that we had him. I'm so looking forward to having him with us all day. And that's it. I mean, that's not it, but that's it.
All right. Yeah, let me put this in here real quick. So, all right, if you want to register for that, the website is www.realimpactevents.com. It should be on the bottom of the screen. I don't see it right now, but it should be there. I don't see it. Is it there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. So realimpactevents.com. It is a full day Saturday. Now we've got a little snippet there that y'all can come in and get 1 hour for free. And that's going to be on Tuesday, March the 8th. Is going to be in Wichita Falls. Tim's going to be hosting that. Wednesday, March the 9th is going to be in Longview, and Doug and Renee Toon are going to be sponsoring that. And then Thursday is Waco, which is the 10th of March. And that's Cindy and Tony are going to be sponsoring that. And they're also going to be sponsoring, Cindy and Tony are going to be sponsoring Friday in Arlington off of 30 and East Chase on the 11th. And all those are pretty much going to be about 6:30 p.m. is what we're going to open the doors at. A little networking in the beginning of that. Waco might be a little earlier because they go to bed sooner in Waco, I think. I don't know why, but Waco is always a little earlier, I think. So maybe 6 o'clock to open the doors in Waco. So we're excited. That's going to be on March the 12th. I'm telling you, the people I've talked to that have gone to the events with Pete Fortunato, I know people that have flown to the East Coast just to go to his events.
Right.
And once you go, you're going to be hooked because he is just the most phenomenal guy out there on thinking outside the box, as he says, what box, but you've never seen anything like this, and you probably will never, ever see anything like this again. So we look forward to everybody being there. We're excited. Real Impact Events. meetup.com. Look that up, read about Pete, register for that before we sell out. And then we're going to have tons of great sponsors there. Don't forget Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And if you want more information on that, go to meetup.com. The links are below this YouTube video for any of our locations out there. So we look forward to seeing you next Sunday. And thank you all for being on here tonight. Phenomenal stories. That is just, I love those stories tonight. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good
And we
night.
got a video coming up of Pete. So watch this video right now.
He has certainly changed the way I invest. He has helped me and my family grow financially.
His education and his mentorship has meant the world to me and to my family.
Peter is probably the most creative real estate mind that I've ever met.
Pete, I gotta tell you, has got to be the most creative, gifted mentor and the most generous guy I've ever met.
Loved his super technical approach as well as his heart.
Nobody but Peter and a handful of other people can make the crazy way I like to structure deals seem normal.
I am blown away by Pete's ability to and willingness to be able to solve complex problems just on the fly.
You were just so helpful for me, whether it be just offering sound fundamental advice or giving me ideas to get around problems that I never even would have thought of in a million years.
You taught everybody so easily, and you're just such a great teacher.
He's a gifted teacher, and I've really enjoyed every class that I've been able to go to, and I hope that I'll have a chance to go to many more.
Over the years, Peter has helped me so much, and he's always there for me via phone, via text, of course, or in person.